Steve here again in Sydney, truebluehealer.com, place of lane gnosis, physical evidence of divine spark, blah, blah, blah. You know the story. I don't normally make 2 videos in a day, but having finished the last one, I just got leaned on to do another one. So what I'm going to talk about is possible solutions to the European disaster situation. One thing people can do is take a leaf from their successful enemies' repertoire, and by that I mean the migration of unwanted, unassimilatable people who can't even use toilets into Europe by the million. It was a very successful invasion technique because NATO couldn't be invoked to fight them militarily because they were all unarmed, you see. But really, it is an invasion, no question about it. So what can Indigenous white people do to respond to this, you see? And you really copy that behaviour back at the Europeans who are doing this. In case you don't know, the EU is controlled by a couple of, need I say, Zionists. George Soros, they operate NATO from Wall Street. Okay, a couple of think tanks do that. Now, so what could Indigenous white people who are seriously threatened by Holocaust 2, which is already starting in Orlando, Florida, what can white Europeans do about this? Well, very simple. You put thousands of people into the 29 buildings that comprises the EU headquarters in Brussels. 500,000 people, if necessary, flood the area. Now, if you say, oh, there'll be a lot of security, that'll stop them occupying the buildings. Well, another thing you can do, because everything is known about these people, their identities. Did you know, for example, if you watch the story Brexit the movie on YouTube, wonderfully informative, it tells you that they've got, in a large number of buildings, a huge number, they've got 10,000 bureaucrats, unelected, who earn more money than the British Prime Minister. 10,000. Okay? Now that's a terrible weakness, because you can find them. They're probably on the internet. You'll be able to find them on asset registers and stuff like that. You can occupy the buildings and don't let them come back to work. I'm sure there'd be thousands of police called out, but they're not very good at finding anybody, are they? They might be able to block streets off and bring out water cannon, etc. So what could the common Indigenous white people do? Well, I don't want to see the necktie party like Mussolini hanging from lampposts. I don't want to see that 10,000 times. But can I suggest you could send a pleasant but brutal message to them by burning their assets? Molotov cocktails, simply in... they earn more money than the British Prime Minister. They have luxury cars, luxury villas, luxury yachts. You can track them all down over the internet. It's all known. Give them the idea that they're no longer wanted in Europe, that it would be nice if they left. Because at the moment, the EU, apparently, according to that Brexit the movie show, it's really crony capitalism. It's a private corporation operating Europe with people who cannot be dislodged from power. And the origin of legislation is inviolate in the sense that they say what's going to happen, and the members of the European Parliament, the MEPs, really have no say in the matter. They are just required to accept it. So the EU Parliament is a complete farce. You may as well burn it down. That's what I suggest. It's cheap to do so. They can get... Now, Muslim cleaners have been found in there. Muslim terrorist cooks and cleaners and all sorts of people have got into there. So surely white people can get in there too, maybe. What do you think? Huh? Is that possible? But I think whether Brexit gets up or not, that's going to be a very slow and painful thing for Britain to extricate itself from years and years of stagnating European rule. So whether it happens or not, I still think the EU should be attacked by Indigenous people from Europe. That's enough people who care, if enough people have woken up yet to the fact that they are being exterminated. Okay? It's a pretty blunt message, and this is continuing the thought experiment from the previous video. It just seems a likely outcome. Historically, we've seen this sort of thing many, many times when governments become enemies of their own people. And every government in Europe seems to have become an enemy of its own people. And that stranglehold has to be broken somehow. Civil disobedience, non-cooperation, that sort of thing, strikes can all be done. And if no one listens to the leadership, they have no power. That's been pointed out before. So perhaps we need a sort of colour revolution, a genuine one this time, not one run by the CIA, a colour revolution run by the Indigenous people themselves. So here I am from this thought experiment advocating, see if you can agree with me, see if you can come up with a better plan or a safer plan. I'm advocating minimal property damage to send a message and care not to harm human life, okay? That's what I'm advocating. Minimal property damage to send a serious message to people who think they are ensconced permanently in power on ludicrous salaries, running Europe as a private corporation to suit their crony capitalist friends, okay? That is my think tank suggestion. I should be working for George Soros, shouldn't I? Let's form another think tank. Maybe white people need more think tanks. What do you think, huh?